Hello dear tea friends from around the world, and welcome to a new tea class with me, Stéphane Herler, the founder of the Tea Masters blog and the Tea-Masters tea boutique, where you find lots of good teas for special occasions, for everyday, and also for tea pairing. And today it's going to be part of our tea class. This is a tea class where I want to talk a bit about the Dragon Boat Festival, which is an important festival here in Taiwan and in China. If you are familiar with this festival, if you live in China or in Taiwan, probably you know it pretty intimately. I will not tell you too many new things, but I'm going to make 3 links with tea, and I think that this alone will make it worthwhile for you to watch this show. So let's start with the story of the Dragon Boat Festival. What is this story about? It's actually it's a bit like Independence Day in the US. Actually, it's a bit a story about the foundation of a national day, like Independence Day, 4th of July in the US, where the foundation is made through a document, very noble. In France, it's the storming of the Bastille, a bit more bloody. In Germany, it's a reunification of the country, a very recent event, which marks a new foundation for a country that has a troubled past, so does not want to go too far in the past. And well, China, if we want really to find a national day that lasts until today, I think it should be Dragon Boat Festival. Why? Actually, and it has a nice touch, a very Chinese touch, I think, that this National Day actually is celebrating a poet who was also a politician, Qu Yuan. He wrote a lot of poetry, so he had a very artistic mind. And artists, poets are easily moved by events, need to express their feelings, and he lived 2,300 years ago during the warring period. So as this name of this era describes it, this is a time when China was at war with itself and also with its neighbors. Lots of wars going on, and this poet who longed for peace, who longed for beauty, longed for harmony, he was upset with all these wars, and here comes another war. And he feels China is lost, and the only thing he can do after writing his last verses is to drown himself in the Miluo River, a branch of the Yangtze River, and commit suicide. So then what happened next is that the people were also moved by his gesture, said, no, it's not possible. This great man, this great poet who loved China so much, the idea of China, because it was separate states at that time, he died in this river, and now his body is going to be eaten by fish. We don't want this to happen. His body is like now sacred. So what they did, the people around the river, they went on boats, and they threw little rice balls packed in bamboo leaves like this into the river, so that the fish would eat the rice in the river instead of eating Qu Yuan's body. And hence this festival commemorating a poet with dragon boat racing to go after the body that is flushed away from the town, since it's a river, and and making these rice, we call them zhongzi in Chinese. These rice bowls shaped into a bamboo. It's shaped kind of a pyramidal way, where triangle, several triangles. So making these zhongzi nowadays and racing on dragon boats is a way to remember this poet Qu Yuan, who committed suicide in the name of peace and for the Chinese culture. So I think it's interesting that that this festival went on until now, for 2,300 years to maintain a festival that's actually longer than Christmas, and this shows continuity in this culture, and it also shows a bit the soul of the culture, that it's very poetic. It really honors poetry and therefore beauty of the words, and it's a bit desperate. It is really anguished by the fear of destruction. So maybe this is what we can learn or think about about this festival. Now, what is maybe interesting you more practically today is, what is this? This is as I explained, a zhongzi, and it comes in many shapes. There are some that are a bit longer, like the ones that I've posted to introduce for this class, and this one is a bit more. It's a little bit smaller, also a bit more what we find in Taiwan. And it comes also in many different tastes nowadays. And Taiwan is a good place to experience the diversity of zhongzi, because we have the zhongzi from the north, the zhongzi from the south, which are cooked a bit differently. My preference goes for the north, which is a bit more with fried rice, and in the south is I think it's steamed or it's cooked. So even the cooking is a bit different. It always contains necessarily rice, but it can be different kinds of rice, long, short, more glutinous or less. And then mostly you have meat. You can have a lot of different, you can have mushrooms. In the south you will have peanuts. And to make this rice more fragrant, more interesting, they use a lot of shallot to give a nice smell to the rice. This is really one of the key points: the shallots and lots of spice, pepper, salt, etc. And you have huzhouzhong that are more the mainland Chinese kind, that are longer. So in Taiwan, because also of this immigration from all parts of China with Chiang Kai-shek, you also get to eat zhongzi from many different parts of China that can be different from those that are popular in Taiwan. So this is why it's really interesting to be in Taiwan and be exposed to a big variety of zhongzi. And maybe the ones we will prefer as foreigners because it takes a while to get used to the salty ones. The easier to appreciate are the sweet ones, where you have rice and red bean paste, very sweet. And if it's not sweet enough, you can add sugar. That's also nice. Actually, this is a sweet one. I'm not going to eat it now. I just had my breakfast, and these are very heavy on the stomach. So you eat one or two, but more will be difficult. And therefore, what is a good tea to be paired with this zhongzi. As you can see, I've chosen yesterday, or actually today for you in the US, my Linsang Pu'er, Sheng Pu'er from 2006 spring, and it worked really very well. It helps really because it's really very heavy, very strong taste, and the pu'er is strong enough to match with these tastes, and it works really well with the very greasy approach of zhongzi, and I did not feel any belly ache. I think, and I really say this is because of the pu'er. It really helped the digestion, and also the taste of the pu'er were strong enough and a very good match with the rice. This very long cooked rice with lots of spices is really a good match with medium-aged pu'er. It doesn't have to be too old. Too young might be a little bit too light, but I felt this medium-aged, like this 15 years old pu'er was really a very good match. I'm going to brew it in a few moments, but I wanted to also say one more thing about the Dragon Boat Festival. It is another link to tea, and it has the reason is because Dragon Boat is on the 5th day of the 5th lunar month. So every year it will be on a slightly different date, but this date will always be kind of early June and very close to the solar solstice, the summer solstice, and therefore there is also a tradition to try to put an egg upright on noontime, because this is the time when it's possible, because the sun is exactly above our heads, and therefore in terms of gravity this is the time when it's possible to for the egg to stand upright. And this is also the reason why at noontime on Dragon Boat Festival we have this something that is called Wushe Shui, the water from the noontime at Dragon Boat Festival. And this water is considered to be special in Chinese culture. In the past it was even used as a medicine, as a remedy against ailments or mosquito bites, or if you were sick, because it makes sense actually that when there is summer solstice and at noon, like with the egg standing upright, there are special forces at work that bring a special quality to water coming from a water source, because the sun is really in this really very special place at that time. It happens once a year, or actually on the days around the summer solstice. This is something that repeats itself. So it's very interesting that during tea class we would always appreciate water even more when it is taken on this moment, around noon, between 11 and 1. Of course, it's not exactly one second. So at this time, the water would be especially sweet. And according to T. Parker, who has a much better palate and than most of us, and me for sure, he really feels that there is a difference between water coming on from that day, from that moment, than water that is coming from any other day. So this is something that you can consider. Maybe since now this is the moment is gone for this year's Dragon Boat Festival, but maybe you can do it on the scientific summer solstice on June 21st of this year to get your spring water at noon, and I believe that it's going to be better in quality, of course, if the water itself is of good quality. Then what else can we say about the link now? So we already saw that Pu'er is going to be a good tea pairing, tea paired with the Zhongzi. We saw the water importance with on a Dragon Boat Festival, and therefore it's best to use Dragon Boat Festival water. I know even some tea fans who make reserves. They use canisters to make reserves of Dragon Boat Festival water, and they drink it on special occasions only. And more in general, I would say the third link between tea and the Dragon Boat Festival is the poetry. Since we are remembering Qu Yuan, Chinese poet, for me drinking tea is like a poetry in action, is a poetry turned into a beverage, and it always puts me in a very poetic mood when I'm drinking tea. That's why I have a book of poetry nearby. This one is from Du Fu. He wrote this actually during the Civil War, during the Tang Dynasty, this book. And I encourage you to also see your tea practice as practical poetry and be inspired by poetry, inspired by beauty. I think really, as tea goes very well with Zhongzi, any tea will go very well with poetry, and will inspire you and will make your tea moment even more enjoyable. So, thank you very much for watching this class about the links between tea and the Dragon Boat Festival. I hope you enjoyed it, and I see you next week for another tea class. Bye bye!